this far. This is Dick, WB2JP. Oh, we're all discombobulated here this morning. Vicky's on assignment. Mark, K2EDS is in on the log. Scott popped in on 7FGP. He and I are going to share this first hour. And Bill, AF0 MHN should be along for the second. Got a list of text check-ins, but I'm going to go right to mobiles. Get these guys and gals before they have the car at work, play, or school. So, mobile stations, let me get right to you, and we'll come up with some announcements a little bit later. Mobile stations only, good morning. Call signs twice. Mobile. Kilo, Juliet 5. Beautiful. In Harvey, mobile. 4 EAS. KO4 EAS. Kilo Foxtrot 8, Echo Quebec Foxtrot. Kilo Foxtrot 8, Echo Quebec Foxtrot. Mobile in and out, please. Good morning.
K4 GDS. K4 GDS.
To go. K4 GDS. Got Robert in Allen Park, Michigan, in and out, KF8 EQF. Have a nice day, Robert. KO4 EAS. Gonna stick with us. Jose, KJ5MEL. I think you're also on the text line. KZ4JN. W5PL. In there, I heard a Louisiana station. It was a KJ5 something in that double. That station from, I think he said from Harvest. That station only, please. Call sign twice. Kilo, Juliet 5, Golf Uniform Yankee. Kilo, Juliet 5, Golf Uniform Yankee. Guy, mobile in Harvey, Louisiana. I thought I heard Harvest, but thought I recognized the voice, and I heard the KJ5. Good morning, guy. We got you. Let me go right up to James in Spring, Texas, the guy with the new call sign. Got to get used to that. Our question today, we're going back. We're getting ready for Memory Lane Friday tomorrow, I think. But our question today, do you remember on-air TV? Do you remember on-air TV or cable? When on-air TV was the only thing that you had to put up an antenna if you wanted to get probably multiple stations, or you could fool with the rabbit ears. So, question today, do you remember on-air TV before cable? Good morning, James.
Well, good morning, Dick and Mark. Thank y'all for running that this morning. And good morning, Brew Crew. This is Whiskey 5, Papa Lima, Mobile. James in Spring, mobile in Houston for work today. It is a beautiful day. Got a beautiful sunrise. Going to be in the 80th today. Great day to be alive. To the question, and oh yeah, when you read that question out, man, I had a trip down memory lane. I remember, when I was young, I was actually in television. My dad would tell me what channel to change to, and I'd run to the front and click, 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 turn the knob, and sometimes you had to grab that little fine-tune knob on the outer edge of the main knob to get the picture a little crisper. Yeah, good memories. Now I still actually have an antenna because after the hurricane, you couldn't get cable, you couldn't get internet, nothing. And I only had rabbit ears and they didn't work because I have a full radiant barrier. So now I've got a antenna on the roof and I get like 100 channels on air. It's beautiful. With that, I'll say 7-3, hand it back to Ned. Everyone a blessed day and stay safe out there. This is Whiskey 5, Papa Lima Mobile. We'll be monitoring.
Thank you, James. Let's go to Enders. KZ4JN, good morning. Good
Good morning, Dick, and everyone else that's on the frequency. Yeah, I absolutely remember the not having cable or satellite. Growing up, we only had 2 channels in Sweden. It was TV1, TV2, both run by the government. So I'm going to wish everyone a great day, and we're on the slope towards the weekend. This is Kilo Zulu 4, Juliet November, sending it back to you, Dick.
Yes, it is. Jose, unusual to see you mobile at this morning. KZ5MEL.
You must have confused me because I didn't call in mobile. But anyway, I'm here. And yes, I remember on air. And tell you the truth, with as streaming and cable and the rest of the stuff, I have a lot of channels on the air. And most of them are digital. Get a clear picture. All I needed was an antenna. But thank you for the question this morning. Thank you for running the net, and thank you to the Godfather for all this. So, all of you have a blessed day today. Looking forward to the weekend. We got used to resting. Blessed day. Back to net.
All right, Jose, we might have mistaken you. I know you had texted, and I believe as well. Margate, Florida, good morning. KO4EAF.
Good morning, everyone on the Brew Crew and net. Yeah, I definitely remember the days of having only the over-air channels, and there were very few. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Look forward to talking to you again. KO4EAF.
Be back tomorrow, so same time, same station. K4GDS, good morning, Gil, and I do any plugs yet for anything, so why don't you, you're going to mention tonight.
Good morning, Dick, and it's Mark's on the logs. And yes, tonight, 8 p.m. the Zoom room is the monthly M1KE peer discussion. If you have any questions about the device, curious about it, having issues with it, whatever, come on out and join us. Or maybe just come out and join us and answer someone else's question. In any case, question, I do remember over-the-air TV on our brand new color RCA console TV that was a piece of furniture in itself. K4GDS, back to net.
Yeah, they were definitely a piece of furniture. Thanks, Gil. And everybody come join us tonight in the Zoom room at 8 o'clock. Good morning, Guy, KG5GUY.
Good morning, Nick. Good morning to everybody out there in the Brew Crew. This is KJ5 Uniform Yankee. Yeah, I do remember the just the air only before the cable. We had, let me think, we had maybe 5 stations all together. 1 UHF station that you had to spin that dial, and then the other ones were, the other guy, you just click on the channel, and we were Dad's remote control, if you know what I mean. Boy, turn that television channel for me. Back to you, that control. Everybody have a great morning. 7:30 from KJ5 Golf Uniform Team. Live in one all over me.
Yeah, we had 3 here in Western New York. It was 2 for years, and then the 3rd one came, and UHF was many, many, many years later. Do I have any other mobiles? Last call for mobile stations. Call signs twice.
DII, Mobile.
K4 ONH, Kilo Foxtrot 4 Oscar November Hotel in Mobile.
K4 MMX.
ZVN Mobile.
K4 MMX.
Victor Alpha 3, Kilo Tango Juliet, VA3, KTJ.
Like Jenzik joined us, VA3KTJ. Good morning to Alan and to ZVN. K4MMX. Morning to Paul in Gainesville for ONH. And wow, Paul from Lakeview, WA2DLL. Paul, nice. You come and go. You come and go about every 3 or 4 years. Good morning, Paul. Nice
How
to
you
hear
doing this morning?
WB2JPQ. And a question for everybody this morning. Do you remember on the air TV? Do you remember on the air TV before cable? Paul, you're up. Good morning.
Dick, and good morning to the Brew. Yeah, it's right time to check in.
I do remember it, and
yeah,
did away with DirecTV. I have
channels,
my own
of course.
old channel,
And the Canadian
tower in the backyard. I get about 100 channels.
That didn't
So,
seem
yes,
to
I do
matter too
remember.
much because
K4
my dad was on, and that's what you watched all night long, no matter what was on it, because you didn't want a monkey with the rabbit ears. So there you go. This will be my one and done because I'm at the flying field and I'm going to do some RC flying, so before the wind starts. So good morning to all the Brew, and it's good to be back in there, Dick. W2DII Mobile, cordial 73, over.
Well, same here, Paul. And I don't know if you're on the list, but the Western New York East Coast Reflector meet and greet is June 20th. June 20th up at Chestnut Park. We have a shelter that we rent every year. It's enclosed. So come join us. Get on the list. If you got any issues, just email me or call me. But we'd love to have you come. It's June 20th, which is coming up fast. And Paul from Gainesville, I'm sorry, Paul, and there was 2 Pauls in a row. I kind of hit Paul. Good morning, KF0ON8. Alert KF0OH. He got to where he was going. It was my fault. We had 2 Pauls in a row, and I said, go ahead. Obviously, they both did. K4MMX, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Growing up as a child in Brooklyn, Farmingdale, and Comac, all up in New York, it was nothing but rabbit ears. When I moved to Florida, then it was cable TV, and stayed that way until the prices for cable skyrocketed, and the content got really bad and worse, and nothing but commercials. So now I don't have cable of any kind or satellite. Just simply dipole antenna sitting on a windowsill, and I get like 96 channels. K4 MMX back to net.
Yes, sir. Let me try to get a little bit back on track here. Do you remember on-air TV? Is the question. Do you remember on-air TV before cable? Good morning, Alan. I'm sure you do. Excuse me, from Kent, New York, and to ZVN.
Good morning, Dick. Everyone on the net tonight, or today.
Yeah, I do. And I still use it. I dropped cable, 200 channels and nothing to watch, so I said, why am I paying for this? So I'm back to over-the-air TV. Hey, everyone have a great day, and choose ZVN.
You have a good day as well, Alan. Hope to maybe see you tonight in the Zoom room for the M1KE meeting. Jenzik, good morning. VH8TJ.
Good morning, Dick, and everyone and else on the net. First, my apologies. I thought it was for a general check-in, but it looks like it's for mobile only. I'm sorry about that. My answer is yes, and I'm still using on-air TV at home. Everybody have a great day. This is VH3KTK.
Right, thank you, Jensig, and good morning, everyone. This is Scott in 7FGP in Jamestown, New York, and I'm going to be taking some of the text check-ins this morning. First of all, let me acknowledge a few that just came in. We have Tim in Columbia, South Carolina, Kenneth in the Villages, team member Al there in Michigan, and Mike in Sebring, Florida, Ed in Hargate, Tennessee. Let's go up to the top of the text message list, or text list, and that's going to be Joe in Franklin, Georgia, KQ4YYN. Now, Joe, do you remember on-air TV only? You know, before cable TV? Over to you, Joe.
Hey, good morning, good morning. Yes, I sure do. I do remember we used to watch Channel 10 out of Albany, Georgia, 80 miles away, and with the antenna, when the antenna rotor would quit working, you'd have to go out there and turn it by hand because the wind would blow the pole around sometimes, the antenna. So one direction, 80 miles away, we would get NBC Channel 10, WALB, and on the other side we'd get public broadcasting miles away from Waycross, Georgia. I think it was whatever sign it was Channel 8. But yes, I do remember that, sure do. Back to you there, sir. KQ4 YYN.
All right, Joe, thank you for checking in this morning. We've got you down with a yes. All right, let's move on to Randall in Brownstown Township, Michigan. K8 FM. Good morning, Randall.
Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Dick. Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Mark. I think I got those all right. To answer the question, yes. With that said, this is K8UFM, back to net control. Everyone have an outstanding Thursday.
All right, Randall, you have a great day, too. Zachary in St. Cloud, Florida, KI6 KQO. Over to you.
Good morning, Scott and the Brew crew. Yes, I do remember over-the-air television. I think when I was a kid, cable was starting to come into the neighborhood, but we couldn't afford it, so I had to get good at the rabbit ears and tinfoil because Saturday morning cartoons were very important. I'll send it back to you, Scott, 73 KI6 KQO.
Yes, Zachary, I'm right there with you. I was the rotor and remote, I think, both. All right, thanks for checking in this morning, and let's go to Roy in Blaisdell, New York, KA8 BYU. Good morning, Roy.
Oh, good morning, everybody on the roof. KA8 BYU. Oh, yeah, I remember just the 3 channels that we had, and yeah, I was a rotator too for a while. Had to go out and turn the mast slightly if the signal got fuzzy. And then I ended up buying one of those Archer rotators and put it up on the mast pipe and eliminated that. My dad was like, oh, yeah. He came in and saw the rotator box there and goes, what's that? And I was like, well, I not have to go outside in snow, rain, or anything more to change the antenna position for you. He's like, oh, good idea. Back to you.
All right, Roy, thanks for that, and we've got you down as a yes. Thanks for being out there today, as always. 1081 check-in. So, all right, let's go down to Florida crew and see about Lou in Lake Worth, Florida. KA4, yes. Hey, Lou, how are you today? And do you remember on-air TV only? Over to you.
Oh, boy, do I ever. Yes, I do, and it was the only means of reception. Remember to put mast, the NTSC television signals, heterodyning with, the vertical blank pulse at 59.94 hertz, heterodyning with 60 hertz power line noise, and you get the two hum bars going up. Boy, do I remember that. But when that cable came around, that was nice to get that cleared up. So, yeah, brings back some good memories. And believe it or not, there still is some NTSC television down in the islands, down in South America, that actually impact our wireless communications here in the States today because they didn't do a retune. More about that some other time. KA4 EPS. Have a good day.
Well, that's a little interesting tidbit of information there, Lou. Thanks for checking in this morning, and you have a great day. Let's go to Ed in Loxahatchee, Florida. K4 POI. Good morning, Ed.
Dick and everybody on the Brew crew. I not only remember before TV, cable, I remember before TV, when we were the hottest people on the block with the radio, and Truman was president. K4 POI, back to the net.
Well, Ed, you got me beat by a few years on that one. All right. Thanks for checking in. Let's go to Paul in Lake Worth, Florida. KG4 GOQ. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Dick, and good morning to the Brew crew. Yes, do I remember off-the-air TV? And not only that, I still utilize it today over the air with still keep an antenna up and go all digital now. But back to the net. This is KG4GOQ in Palm Springs, Florida.
All right, Paul, we've got you down with a yes. Let's go check on Joe in Deerfield Beach, Florida, N3 SQR. Joe, do you remember on-air TV only? Over to you, matey.
Good morning, Mark, Bill, and Dick. Yes, I do remember television that was over the air. And every television I purchased was defective. I mean, you have one job to do. All you have to do is label all the TV channels from 1 to 14. But no, there was no channel 1. I kept on taking them back, and they kept on giving me another TV. It starts at channel 2. You have one job. I'm getting all upset over here, Mark. I'll turn it back to you. N3SQR, back to you.
Yeah, Joe, that drove me crazy too. All right, thanks for checking in and being out there today. Bob in Jupiter, Florida, KA4RAQ. Good. Sorry, let me say that again. KA4RAK. Bob, over to you.
Good morning. Yes, I remember it. And if you remember, every night at midnight, they would play the Star Spangled Banner, and the TV would then go off. The channels would go off.
Oh, yes, Bob, I remember it very well. All right, let's move to Joe in Claremont, Florida. KM4 WZD. Good morning, Joe.
Well, hey, good morning. Good morning to the crew. Yeah, absolutely remember that. Southwestern Pennsylvania, probably about a half a dozen stations, and if I remember right, there was at least one of them that came in all the way from Ohio. I just thought that was great back in the day. Do still have an antenna on the roof. Serves as a good backup. Yeah, kind of an RF guy, I guess. Anyhow, everybody take care. 7-3, it's KM4 WZD. Back to net.
All right, Joe, we've got you down as a yes. Thanks for checking in this morning and have a great day. All right, it's time to head across the pond over to Kerry in Motherwell, Scotland. GM5 CAR. Good, let's see, middle of the day, I think, Kerry. Over to you.
And yes, it's just almost 12:30 here, and just about to start thinking about some lunch. And in answer to today's question, the answer is yes. Originally here in the UK we had 3 channels, and then eventually we got the 4th one, 1980, and then the 5th one in 1997. And yeah, very similar. We actually used to have the national anthem played on BBC One round about midnight, and all the channels would go off at midnight, and that was your time to go to bed. Thanks for the question there, Dick. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. 73.
All right, Kerry, thanks for checking in this morning, and you have a great afternoon. Greg in Ontario, Canada, VA3 GLJ. Over to you, Greg.
Well, good morning, Scott. Good morning to the Brew Crew. 45 degrees Fahrenheit, degrees Celsius up here in Cartier. Answer to your question, yes. Growing up in a northeastern Ontario small town, much like Anders there from Sweden, we had channels, CBC English, French, both supplied by the government. But on a cold winter day, if Lake Superior was frozen, we'd get a skip come across from Michigan, and of all channels, it was PBS. But it was glory to us because it was something other than CBC. Everybody have a great day in 73 VLJ.
Yes, Greg, I remember those days well. All right, let's take a pause here from the text check-ins, and let's call for some RF check-ins. If you would like to check into the Morning Brew this morning via the radio, now is your chance. Just need your call sign twice and slowly, and let's try to keep a little orderly there for Mark. All right, call now if you'd like to check in.
Okay, this is Kilo Charles 7, Foxtrot Bravo November. Kilo Charles 7, Foxtrot Bravo November, and shorter time mobile.
Victor Alpha 3, Yankee Bravo Sierra. Victor Alpha 3, Yankee Bravo Sierra.
Kilo Fox 4 Alpha Charlie Bravo. I think I was on the text list, but I may have fell asleep and got missed. I'm not sure. KF4 ACB in Harrogate, Tennessee.
Kilo 5,
Kilo 4, Delta India, Yankee. Kilo 4, Delta India, Yankee.
Mobile.
let me grab it a minute. This is Dick WB2JPQ. As you can see, Scott and I are tag teaming here today. It's KK4DIY. Good morning to Norm, N1 and Y1 US. Vern, Waterdown, Ontario. I guess your mobile will get to you in just a minute, Vern. There was a KF4ACB. I guess that was Ed. Yep, I recognize Ed's voice. We got you in here, Ed. Good morning to Bill, VA3YBS. Another Bill, W8WHK. And Bob was in there from Boca Raton. For Rob Brother, KC7 FBN. It looks like you're mobile as well, Rob. So, again, and take it. And our question once again this morning: do you remember on-air TV before cable? Good morning. FBN, Rob, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry, I got lost in translation. This is KC7FBN. Good morning to everyone on the frequency. Yes, I remember the rabbit ears, and we had a good time. It was quite a phenomenon. I do remember when I was in my early 20s, like maybe 22 or something, I was in a place called Alaska, and the community was Hoonah, Hoonah, and they had one station, and that was CBS.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I do remember around here there was Channel 4. It was the first one for many years. Good morning to Vern, Waterdown, BA3CRF.
Good morning, Dick and Vicki and everybody on that. Thanks for picking me up. Out for a walk here. It is 54, a little bit overcast. I do remember over-the-air television. Wow, that takes me back. TV had channels 2 through 13, and eventually they added the UHF channels. We used to enjoy watching some of the stations out of Buffalo, channel 2, 4, and 7. And I remember one of them, I remember which one it was, would always say at 11 o'clock, it's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? I'm like, I don't even have any children. Thanks for doing it, Dick. VA3CRF.
About that 11 o'clock thing yesterday in the Zoom room. Do you remember where your children are? 11 o'clock every night. Thank you, sir. Let's go to Bill in North Myers, W8WHK. Good morning, Bill.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. 75 degrees and clear. And get a lot of that this time of the year, especially this time of the day. Yes, I remember. We had 3 channels. Until UHF came along, and then we had 2 or 3 more. And when we were lucky, and the conditions were right, we could pick up a couple of Canadian stations over Lake Erie, because we were right up there, about a mile or 2 south of Lake Erie. But for the most part, the towers for the local stations were about 5 miles south of us, and when we turned those rabbit ears, you had to make sure you had those the antenna line just right, and you get a pretty good signal until airplanes flew over, and planes would fly over, because we live pretty close to the airport too, and the picture would go all fuzzy and ghosty. The good old days. Okay, back to you, Dick, and everyone else. This is W8WHK 73. Back to net control.
You just said that about the airplanes flying over in the Zoom room before the that started this morning. Glad you remembered that as well, Bill. Another Bill, Dunnville, Ontario, VA3YBS. Good morning.
Good morning, Dick, and everybody on the net. Yeah, I sure do remember over-the-air TV. We used to get all the Buffalo channels, and if we were lucky, we'd get the Toronto channels, and we could watch the Hockey Night in Canada games. And yeah, I remember the rotator, having to turn the antenna around with the rotator. And actually, I still have a UHF antenna on one of my TVs, one in the bedroom, and pick up all the Buffalo channels, Erie, Pennsylvania. Yeah, really good. Okay, thanks. Great question. Back to you, Dick. This is VA3YBS.
KF4ACB.
Good morning, Dick, and everyone else on the net. I'm very, very sleepy-head this morning. I think I may have missed out on getting called earlier. But I certainly do remember. I don't know what's breaking through there. Yes, I remember those kinds of days when you only got 3 channels, and we had a tower with a rotor and an antenna on top. And that's when I learned about propagation in the ionosphere. We could get a 4th station during the winter out of Asheville, North Carolina, all winter long. And then when the spring came, we could only get it from about dark, when it got dark at night, to about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And I explored why that was happening and learned about, like I said, the ionosphere and propagation. So it was educational in several different kinds of ways. KF4ACB.
Thank you, Ed. Good morning to Norm, South Wales, New York. 51 US.
Morning, Dick, and everybody on the Brew Crew today. I remember over-the-air television to get a lot of the Canadian channels back to that NY1 US.
More remember than I thought. When I came up with this question, I was a little reluctant. I thought maybe there wasn't enough of us around. KK4DIY. Good morning, Gene, Homicetta, Florida.
Good morning. This is KK4DIY. And the answer is yes, I remember as a kid, we started out with only 2 channels. Actually 3, I guess, NBC, CBS, and ABC, and then later came Fox, but it was all over the air. Thanks much, KK4DIY.
Sarah, let's go up, back up to our text line. Good morning, Mark, N0CKV.
Morning, Dick. Rest of the Brew Crew, everybody else on the net. Yes, I remember on the air, and I even remember way back to black and white on the air, with only a few channels available. Everybody have a great what's today? Everybody have a great Thursday. Looking forward to seeing everybody on the M1KE tonight. And 0CKV back to net.
Hey, Mark. See you tonight. Yeah, last word I had, Vicky's bringing buttered popcorn, so just all you got to do is bring a dish. Let's move on to Ray, Beaver, Pennsylvania. DQD, good morning.
Yeah, I think I have it. This is N3DQD. Yes, I remember over-the-air TV before we had cable in our area. Back to net. This is N3DQD.
Thank you, Ray. Charles in Syracuse, KD2YUI.
Good morning, Dick, and everybody else listening on the Brew. Yep, I'm old enough. I still remember back when it was only over the air. I remember the rabbit ears, but I also remember a loop antenna for, I believe that was the UHF channels. 73 all back to net control KD2, YUY.
There was a loop, like in the tinfoil trick. Hey, Sun City, Florida, good morning, NA2B.
Good morning, Dick, and everybody on the net, 39 Tampa Bay, 78 this morning, finally getting a little bit of rain on the weather. Response to the question, Dick, yes, certainly remember over the air. Back home when I was a little fella, I remember the guy from the TV shop standing on a roof, putting the antenna up on the roof of the rotator and all that stuff. And matter of fact, the radio or the TV I watch every morning here in the shack is over the air. I have rabbit ears in the attic. I pick up like 65. It's kind of like a necessity for a hurricane-prone area. Won't keep it long. Thanks for what you do. NA2B, back to net.
Talking this morning in the Zoom room before the net, the distinct click of the U100 rotors. That ought to bring back some memories. I'm sure that's on. We can Google that. Wayne, Belmar, New York, KC2NJV. Good morning. This is Dick, WB2JPQ. This is Wayne, KC2NJV. They had him in queue a little bit long. We got a lot of check-ins, guys, this morning. We're doing our best here. Good morning to Duck, Lake City, Florida, KK4D, UK.
Good morning. This is KK4DUK. This is Doug out of City, Florida. Excellent question. Wow. Yes, I definitely remember OTA. Sure enough, I do. It feels like it was almost yesterday. In fact, my father's parents, my grandparents, they never, ever had cable TV nor satellite TV. Strictly antenna. And when the digital channel stations came out, they really loved that because they upgraded their antenna from that analog style antenna to the digital, and they got way more channels. They went from like 4 channels to 40 plus, almost 50 channels, all crystal clear, and they were loving it. But I definitely remember OTA. This is KK4DUK, 73s, everyone, turning it back over to Net Control. Quack, quack.
Sir, let's go to Newcastle, Pennsylvania and see what Chuck has to say this morning. Morning, Chuck.
Morning, Dick, Mark, Scott, everybody on the Brew there. Yeah, I sure do remember that on the air there. In fact, my job, like a lot of other people, was getting up and adjusting the rabbit ears. With that, have a great day. W3CVE.
All right, Chuck, thank you for checking in this morning. This is Scott and 7FGP. Continue on down the list with Robert in Deltona, Florida, KJ4ZFM. Good morning, Robert. And you remember on-air TV only, way before cable. Over to you.
Oh my goodness, what a good question. Don't know who came up with the question, but whoever came up with the question, hooray! Oh my goodness, yes, I do remember. Oh my God, I I lived in the greatest city in the world, New York City, and I think it was 3 channels in the beginning, if I remember it. I'm not too sure, but oh my goodness, it was fun back then with the rabbit ears and yes, the aluminum. Good morning, everyone on the Brew Crew, Vicky, Dick, and then thank you very much for help facilitating. KJ4 is the FM, Deltona, Florida.
Right, Robert, thank you for checking in this morning, and let's see if we can move on down this list. We have Rod in Madison, West Virginia, WD8 KOB. Good morning, Rod.
WD8 KOB. Well, good morning, Nick. I hope everyone's doing well. And my answer to the question is yes, of course. I guess I was in my 30s before I had the opportunity to buy cable. A lot of over-the-air antennas. Anyway, have a good day, guys. WD8 KOB, back to Nick.
All right, Rod, we've with a yes. Jason in Eugene, Oregon, KD9MGW. Good morning, Jason.
No, I do not remember before cable, but I did grow up with on the air. Cable was something that I could get if I went to a friend's house, but we could not afford it. Back to Matt, this is KD9MGW.
All right, Jason, we've got you checked in with a no. Thanks for checking in this morning. Dave in Ypsilanti, Michigan, WB8 ODF. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, sir, and everybody on the Zoom room this morning. Yes, put me down for a capital letter YES. I remember before UHF even came in, we had 3 channels, the 3 big ones, and we had a Canadian that comes across from Windsor, Canada, and that's in Ontario. Thanks for doing the net, and it sure made me think, the knobs clicking and the tinfoil, all the good, fun things we had, which at the time were very frustrating. Now they seem fun. This is Dave, WB8ODF.
All right, Dave, we've got you down with capital yes. All right, thank you for checking in, and let's move to Mike. He's not in Sebring, Florida right now, but he's up here in New York. But Mike, KB2UDB. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Scott, and everyone else on the net. Yes, beautiful New York State where it's raining and 57 degrees while I'm out here fishing, catching fish. The answer is yes to the question, and I also remember the color bars at the end when TV would go off and wake you up when you fell asleep with the noise that it made. So the answer is yes, and we did have the loop on the back of the TV for UHF, and we had to adjust that to get the channels in as well. And then one day I got the outside antenna, we ended up having to look channel numbers on the router so we know where to put the antenna to get those stations. So thanks for picking me up this morning. You guys take care. We'll talk to you later. Hopefully we'll see you tonight in the Zoom room. KB2UDB, back to net.
All right, Mike, you have a good time out there fishing today. Let's go on to my partner on Tuesdays, Al in Breton, Michigan, K8 BAC. Good morning, Al.
Good morning, Scott, Dick, everybody in the Brew Crew, KBAC. Oh yeah, I remember the days before cable. In fact, I still have an antenna set up because from here you can get Toledo, Detroit, Windsor, Ontario, and even sometimes Lansing and Kalamazoo on a good day. But yeah, I remember those days. It was pretty amazing the first time we moved into a house and had cable, and I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I'm back to really not caring about any of that stuff. I'd just as soon have free TV. Back to you, KBAC.
kind of in the same there. Free TV seems fine with me right now. All right, thanks for checking in, and you have a great afternoon and great day. Kenneth in the Villages, Florida, AB8 or AB4KT.
Ray from the Villages, Florida, AB4KT. Yes, that my parents didn't have cable TV until long after I moved out, even though everybody else did. They lag anything like that by at least 10 to 15 years, but yeah, back to that. Everybody have a great day.
All right, Kenneth, thanks for checking in. Let's move to Tim in Columbia, South Carolina, KQ4EFY. Good morning, Tim.
Thank you, Scott. This is KQ4EFY, Tim in Columbia, South Carolina. And oh yes, I remember for cable TV all the way back to 1954 to see this. Talk to you later. Internet control.
All right, Tim, thanks for checking in this morning, and let's head across the pond again to Adam in Stretford, England, M7WYW. Good afternoon there, Adam.
Good morning, Brew Crew. This is M7WYW, Adam in Stretford, England. My answer could be left open to interpretation. I'm a bit young to have used it on an actual TV. However, over here in England, we've got pretty much every building around, so we get free TV over here. But where I actually I use a software-defined radio to receive over-the-air TV. So I leave that open to interpretation, but I believe I've used it. So send it back to net. 73 from M7WYW.
Right, Adam. You were going to say yes on that word. That's how we interpret it. All right, thanks for checking in, and let's go to David in Houston, Texas, W5DBS. Good morning, David.
Big Texas howdy to everybody on the crew. Thanks for what you do. Yes, I remember when there was one station in Houston, Texas. We used to get some distance. We used to get San Antonio every once in a while, late at night before they went off. Cable, the first time I heard it, was they used in the term that they were going to connect New York City to Houston. And they had a jingle that played for about 60 days. They said, cable is coming, cable is coming. And then one morning, we sat down at the television on Channel 2 Houston. They punched the button, and there was Dave sitting in his studio in New York City live. And my mother and I just absolutely could not believe it live, and we're watching it on television. That's over the air. That was the greatest time. Those were simpler times. Thanks, guys. This is W5DBS in Houston. Back to the net.
All right, David, we've got you down there, and yes, you know, all that whole live stuff and network stuff all used to come over telephone lines. Thanks for checking in today, and let's go to Charles in Belmont, North Carolina, KR4AEG. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning, Scott. Everybody on the net. Yes, I remember the antenna and getting everything dialed in and having standing on your head to get a picture. Yeah, I remember that. Don't mention too much, but I remember. KR4AEG, back to net control.
All right, Charles, thanks for checking in this morning, and let's move on to Richard in Sumter, South Carolina, N4RSM. Good morning, Richard.
Well, the Brew Crew, I remember it well. I remember my dad sending me outside to turn the antenna while he yelled at me when the picture was better. Back to you.
yes, I remember those days too. Thank you for checking in. And Gary in DeLand, Florida, KQ4 STK. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, everyone. I do remember it. I remember black and white, the rapid years, trying to get UHF, which was always a challenge. I remember the TV set we had was a Dumont. And thank you so much for an excellent question this morning. My best to everyone, 73, KQ4 STK, back to net control.
All right, Gary, thanks for checking in this morning. And let's move on to Eric in Sylvania, Ohio, KD8 WFW. Good morning. All right, Eric, one more time there. KD8 WFW. Good morning. All right, we're going to mark Eric as an in and out. Let's go down to Bill and Hobbs, KI5 PMI. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Scott, everybody on the Brew. Yes, I remember the over-the-air television. I also remember having to turn the outside antenna mast, so I was a manual rotator. So hope everybody has a great day. KI5 PMI. Back to that.
Yeah, I've been that manual rotator myself. Let's go ahead and take some radio check-ins now. If you would like to check into the Morning Brew this morning, the question of the day is, do you remember on-air TV only? You know, before cable. All right, to check in, just give us your call sign twice, slowly, and let's try to make it a little orderly there. Call now, please.
A4OSG, WK4, Oscar, Peter, Golf. WK Mobile.
Kilo 9er Tango Juliet Sierra K9 TJS, in and out.
Down, Illinois.
Whiskey 8, Romeo Charlie Yankee. Whiskey 8, Romeo Charlie Yankee. 0, Victor Mike Charlie.
November 8th, Hotel Lima, November, N8 LN.
KD3 Kilo Delta 3 Bravo Alpha Alpha.
Kilo Juliet 5 Delta X-Ray Bravo. In and out. Good morning. W2 W2 BLT
Yankee America, in and out.
Oh, Foxtrot 0, Victor Mike Charlie. Kilo Foxtrot 0, Victor Mike Charlie.
Kilo Charlie Uniform Victor Quebec. Kilo Charlie 2 Uniform Victor Quebec.
Kilo India 5 Fox Whiskey Japan KI5 FWJ.
All right, good place to hold up for a minute. KI5 FWJ. Good morning, Ryan. We'll be with you in a minute. Phil from Valley Springs, New York, UZQ. Tim, good morning, KF0VMC. Just before Tim, there was a station, Yankee Alpha YA station only, please. Time for the Yankee Alpha station only. Being heard. Good morning to Scott, W2BLT, Frank in Sugarland, Texas. And where KJ5DXD was in and out. You have a nice day, Frank. KD3BAA. Vicky, K8VKY Mobile on the road, I assume. We didn't hear the Mobile, but I'm going to check you off anyway. I know you're going to be on the road. Good morning to Mike in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, N8HLN. And for Mike, there was a VMC. The VMC station twice, please. Something with VC in the call sign.
Zero. Victor Mike Charlie.
One more time. Please key up, wait a couple seconds, and give us your call sign. We're missing the prefix.
Kilo. Foxtrot. 0. Victor Mike Charlie. WA7 Hotel X-Ray Zulu. WA7 HXZ. Chandler, Arizona.
And then we heard somebody say they were in Illinois. The Illinois station only, please.
Kilo Delta 9, Zulu Delta Romeo. That's Kilo Delta 9, Zulu Delta Romeo. Kevin in hometown, Illinois.
Got you, Kevin. Hometown, Illinois, KD9. Is that DR? We got you. And we got Thomas in Margate, Florida, was in and out. Well, that'll do it for Scott and I this morning. And else Bill needs a hand here. I'm going to send it over to Bill, and he's going to take the next hour, and else he wants us to jump in. So Bill's going to start up here. Where are we going to start here, Bill? I think you're going to start with these stations on line 81. Let's start with good morning, Bill. This is Dick, WB2JPQ. I'm sorry, Mobiles. Yeah, we got to get Mobiles. Like first day on here. Let's get some. Let's get our Mobiles. There we go.
All right, good morning, everybody. This is KF0MHN, Bill out of Minnesota. Let's go to our first mobile, K8BWK, Ben in Oregon, Ohio. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill, and everyone on the... I sure do. It's amazing how much television has changed in my short 55 years. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Bill. Greatly appreciate it. K8BWK.
Ben, it sure has changed. Over my 63 years, it's made significant changes. All right, have a great day, Ben. All right, let's go to Vicky, one of our most important people here at the East Coast Reflector, K8VKY. Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not mobile yet. I think he assumed I was. I leave in a few minutes. But yeah, I remember it. And I am back to it again. Antenna on the roof. Well, many antennas on, a few antennas on the roof. All right, have a good morning. K8VKY.
All right, Vicki, thanks for checking in. Have a great day. Let's go to Bill, N2BH. Bill, one of our net controllers. How you doing, Bill?
Good morning, Bill. Oh yes, I still remember it, and in fact, local channels I still get over the air. N2BH.
All right, Bill. Have a great day. Good hearing from you. All right, let's move on to Randy at the top of the list. W2RBC. Randy, good morning.
Good morning, Bill, and everyone on the Morning Brew. Yes, I sure do. I remember using rabbit ears and the aluminum foil, and then moving to an outside antenna with a rotor. Back to that control, 73 to all, W2RBC.
All right, Randy. I remember something in rabbit ears. My dad would say, oh, you got to move over here, or you got to move here, or put your arms this way, those kind of things back in the day. I want to get the Browns game. And sometimes if the Browns game was in Buffalo and not in local TV, you should see some of the things we had to do back in the day. So have a great day, Randy. Next on to KD3AJN. Anna out of Beaver, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning, Bill, and everyone in there this morning. Yes, I remember. Everyone have a great day. KD3AJN.
Do you remember on-air TV before cable? I'm sure many of you do. Next, move on to Bob, W3ICQ. Bob out of Leesburg, Florida. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today? Yes, I do remember. W3ICQ. Back to you.
Bob, thanks for checking in. Have a great day. Let's move on to KE8SMN. Jeff out of Rochester Hills, Michigan. Well, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning to the Brew Crew. This is KE8SMN checking in today from Lake Leelanau, north of Traverse, watching the sun come up over the lake. Yes, I do remember. A lot of good memories. KE8SMN. Back to net.
All right, Jeff. Enjoy your sunrise and have a great day. Let's move on to KC2JZE. Bob out of Hamburg, New York. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning to all of that. I absolutely remember antenna television. I remember my father trying to get the Buffalo Bills games out of Erie, Pennsylvania. He'd be on the roof twisting the antenna while I watched the television to tell him when the pitcher was best. Back to that. Have a great day, everyone. KC2JZE.
Oh, yeah. Same at our house. Thanks for checking in, Bob. Have a great day. All right, Daryl, KC5Z7X. Good morning, Daryl.
Good morning to everybody on the Brew. And yes, I remember those days. We could only get the 3 major networks. So back to net, KC5CZX.
WA7HFD, Chandler, Arizona. Really late. All right, K6AAN, Mike out of Valley Springs, California. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning, everybody on the Brew Crew. Yeah, I remember those days real well. We had black and white, 3 channels, and it was the times when they had those beautiful console TVs with the integrated turntable and tuner and all that. They were way expensive. We didn't have one. They were super expensive, but oh yeah, I remember it well. This is a good question. Brings back a lot of memories. This is K6AA. Have a great day, everyone.
Mike, you have a great day as well, and thank you for checking in to the East Coast Reflector. Next on to KE2AJO, Jose out of Bronx, New York. Good morning, Jose.
say we didn't quite catch your signal. If you want to come back in again. All right, we'll move on from KE2AJO Jose, and we'll put him as in and out. Maybe if he wants to check in later, we'll move on. N8ZFH Gary out of Woodhaven, Michigan. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Bill, Vicky, and the crew. And yes, I remember black and white TV over the air very well. It was back in the day with the Motorola 18-inch television in and out. N8ZFH, back to that.
All right, Gary. I'm sure many of you remember then we were going to digital. We had to buy some kit at the Target or Walmart or any of that to convert it over to the signal. I remember those days as well. I can't remember. I think it cost $20, $25 to do that. But I had to do that with some TVs. I'm sure many of you remember that as well. Now we're completely digital and a lot better pictures back in the day. But everybody, I'm sure we miss those old black and whites. Next on to KQ8U, Bob, Ecorse, Michigan. Good morning, Bob.
Morning, Brew Crew. Matter of fact, I don't watch much TV. I put the antennas up on my roof of my garage. It picks up about 70 stations, but half of them are just shopping stations, but I don't watch much TV anymore anyway. Have a good day. KQ8U, better than that.
All right, Bob, thanks for checking in. You have a great day as well. Just a reminder, this is KF0MHN Bill out of Minnesota. And the question of the day is, do you remember TV do you remember on-air TV before cable? And that's the question of the day. Let's move on to KF8DIP James out of Ottawa Lake, Michigan.
Our answer is yes. I turned 70 a few days ago, and I remember TV long before what it is now. 73, back to the net.
All right, James, thanks for checking in. Have a great day. Let's move on down the list to let's move down to KD9ZDR, Kevin out of Hometown, Illinois.
Hello, thanks for joining that and checking in. Yeah, I certainly do remember those days. As a matter of fact, but I don't miss them because I was part of the antenna system. Move here, move there, don't move, stay right there. Yeah, I don't miss those days. Thank you for bringing it up. Everybody have a great day. Back to net control. KD9ZDR in Hometown.
All right, Kevin, have a great day. Great name for a town, by the way, Hometown, Illinois. Let's move on to KF0VMC, Tim out of Lincoln, Nebraska. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning to everybody on the Brew Crew. Yeah. Well, my memory serves me right. We had 3 channels, black and white, small television, and yeah, ran on rabbit ears, and I remember all of that. And, nowadays, it definitely is a lot different. So, thank you guys, and you all have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you next time around. This is KF0VMC, Tim from Lincoln, Nebraska. Take care. 73s.
All right, Tim, take care. You know, it's funny, Tim, about all those channels we have today. Got hundreds and hundreds of channels, but sometimes
when we had the 3 stations, I could find something to watch. Now I got hundreds of channels and I can't find anything to watch. So, I don't know. Well, have a good day, Tim, and 73. Let's move on to, let's see here, KD3BAA, Jeremiah in McKeesport, Pennsylvania.
Well, good morning to the Brew Crew. This is Jeremiah, KD3BAA, from the thriving metropolis of McKeesport, PA. I certainly remember the days of over TV. And the funny thing is how things, what goes around comes around, and everything old becomes new again. We have a 42-inch, flat screen smart TV on the wall in the bedroom. Pretty much the only time it gets used is when my wife tunes to watch The Price is Right using the rabbit. Back to net control, 83BAA.
All right, thanks for checking in and have a great day. Next move on to NHLN, Mike out of Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Bill and everyone. Certainly do recall that. Had the 3 original channels, and we have the 4th option BBC out of Windsor, Ontario, across the river here in Detroit. And the rabbit ears, the UHF loop, and the eventual progression to the grand antenna on the roof with the rotor. Certainly do. Good question. Everyone have a great day. 73 NHLN.
All right, Mike, you have a great day as well. And thanks for checking in. Let's move on to W2BLT, Scott from Buffalo, New York. Good morning, Scott.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I remember on-air TV. I was married before we had cable, and that's back when you had to get up off your duff and change the channel at the television. Everybody have a great day. This is W2BLT, front porch portable, clear.
Well, thanks, Scott, for checking. I remember my dad. I was my dad's remote control back in the day. So, have a great day, Scott. Move on to KI5. WJ Ryan out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. WJ Ryan, you still with us? All right, we'll move on from Ryan, put him as an in and out, and we'll move down the list. WA7HXZ, Ken out of Chandler, Arizona. Good morning. Right, let's move on, and we'll go down to KC2UVQ, Phil out of Valley Stream, New York. Phil, what say you?
Good morning, all. Good morning, Brew. And yes, I remember over-the-air TV before cable. From New York City, we had like 7 channels, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13, and 1 or 2 UHF channels that I never watched. KC2, UVQ, back to net.
All right, Phil, we got you put in a lot for a yes, and you have a great day. All right, we got 2 more check-ins, or 2 more to go through, and then we'll take more check-ins. We've got KE2AJO via the text line, Jose in the Bronx, New York. Good morning, Jose.
Jordan, good morning. Thank you for running the net this morning. Good morning, everybody on the morning brew. Say it sounds like at work. And it looks like I'm making it. And yes, I do remember those days. It was great memories. I had the antenna up on the roof, and the gravity was over the TV with the loop. And we had a lot of channels, because, obviously here in New York City, there's a lot of channels to watch. Some fuzzy, some clear, and then I had the old wooden TV with the channel knob you used to click and clack every time you turn it. But, yeah, great memories. So, thanks for the question this morning. Have a great day, buddy. 73 K2HL.
All right, Jose, thanks for checking in. Have a good day. Next, we move on to W2AJR, Andy out of Cheektowaga, New York. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I like you was the remote control. My father would send me to the TV to change the channel, even if I wasn't even in the room. He'd be hollering, and for some reason the antenna rotor would make this kerchunking sound that I can still hear in my mind. So yeah, definitely good memories. 7-3 all. Back to you.
All right, checking in, Andy. All right, we're down to the bottom of our list. Time for more check-ins. Remember to say your call sign twice and slowly.
November 3, Mike Papa Echo. November 3, Mike Papa Echo, and 3 MPE.
United and W3.
N5OZG Mobile.
N5GI, November 5, Golf India.
X-ray. KD9YXX.
November 3, Mike Delta Charlie. That's November 3, Mike Delta Charlie.
Kilo Charlie 1, Hotel Golf Victor. Kilo Charlie 1, Hotel Golf Victor. Kilo Charlie 3, Lima Alpha Victor. Kilo Charlie 3, Lima Alpha Victor.
November Zulu Alpha, in and out.
KD2IWN Mobile. KD2IWN Mobile. Whiskey 8 Bravo Papa Delta W8BPD.
2 FYA, November 2, Fox Yankee, in and out.
Right, we can go from that list there. We can start at the bottom. All right, we had W8BPD. We had KD2IWN, Tim. We had N2FY, question mark, John, out of Mystic, Connecticut. If that is the correct call sign, please check in.
N2FYA, John over here in Mystic.
All right, thanks, John. We had NZA, question mark. If your call sign had an NZA, please check in.
Kilo Juliet 5, November Zulu Alpha. Kilo Juliet 5, November Zulu Alpha, in and out.
Doug, we got you in and out. KC3LAB, Mike. KC1HGV, Charles. N3MDC, Michael. K9DYXX, Frank. N5GI, Rick. NO0ZG, James. We had an error with the call sign, NW3, question mark. If that was you, please check in.
NW3 year, November Whiskey 3, United.
Right, at the top of the list, where we'll start N3MPE Sam out of Texas. Good morning, Sam. The question of the day is, do you remember on-air TV after cable? How about KC2JPQ, Frank, out of Lancaster, New York? What say you?
The television to start broadcast. Everybody have a great day. I'll send it back to the net, KC2JPQ.
All right, Frank, thanks for checking in. Let's try N3MPE again. Sam out of Pflugerville, Texas. What say you, Sam?
Good morning, folks, Pflugerville, Texas. I remember those days very well in 1969, an old 4-mile 5. Thank you, 62 Talk 42, and the thing was theater. And I watched only like Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 9, out of and maybe Channel 4, and that was it. When UHF came out, you had a converter thing. You stuck on the radio, on the TV set, to convert to UHF. So I don't know, but I remember those days very well. In fact, in that control.
We got some of your transmission. You sound like you're far away from the repeater. All right, let's move on to N0ZG, James out of Decorah, Iowa. Good morning, James.
OZG, November 5 Oscar Zulu Go.
How about N3U, David out of Garner, North Carolina. Good morning, David.
Whiskey 3 United and W3U. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. Yes, sir, I do remember on-the-air TV. We didn't have a rotator. We could just put an antenna up and see the 3 channels we needed to see. Everybody have a good day. We'll talk to you hopefully tomorrow. NW3U 736.
Hi, David. Thanks for checking in. Have a great day. Let's move on to N5GI, Rick out of the Villages, Florida. Good morning, Rick. N5GI, you still with us? We'll put Rick as in and out. Maybe he'll check in a little bit later with us. Let's move on to KD9YXX, Frank out of Edwardsport, Indiana.
Yes, absolutely. And I was the remote control. Back to net control. KD9YXX.
All right, Frank, that's a common theme around here. I was the remote control. You were. A couple other people were as well. So have a great day, Frank. And 73. Let's move on to N3DMC. Michael out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. What say you, Michael?
Yeah, this is November 3, Mike Delta Charlie, Michael out of Winston-Salem. Yes, I do. I do remember it back when I was a kid growing up, and here's the problem, though. It was trouble on the weekend, though. I had 3 other siblings, had my brother and my sisters, so
sharing the TV was not easy on the weekend when I was off from school. That was not easy. You have 3 other siblings you got to share the TV with. But I had it in the morning, but when my brother and my sisters, got up, I had to share the TV, of course. Back to net control, it's 3 MB6.
Yeah, that share thing can get in the way sometimes when you got all those brothers and sisters. So thank you for checking in, and have a great day. All right, let's move on to KC1 HCV. Charles out of Pulteney, Vermont. Charles, if your email is updated in QRZ, you'll get a welcome letter for being new to the East Coast Reflector. What say you, Charles?
All right, I say that I remember, and good morning to everyone on the Brew. And yeah, I was, like so many others, part of the, I was the remote and the antenna, and we had wires hung up on curtain rods and everything else. So, good days, good days. And with that, I'll say 7-3s to everybody and send it back to net control.
All right, Charles, thanks for checking in to the Morning Brew on the East Coast Reflector, and welcome to the East Coast Reflector as well. All right, let's move on to KC3LAV. Mike out of Lititz, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Mike.
Yes, sir, and a fine good morning to you and everyone on the crew this morning. This is KC3LAV. Kilo Charlie 3, Lima Alpha, Victor, Mike in Warwick Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Beautiful sunny day here today, 70 degrees. Yes, indeed. Remember, we had 3 channels. It's all you could see. And you had test patterns, and you had the star-spangled pattern, and everything important. And no fake nothing about it. Thanks for having the net, KC3LAV. We're back to you.
All right, Mike, enjoy some of that beautiful weather, and thank you for checking in. All right, let's move on to FYA, John out of Mystic, Connecticut. Good morning, John.
Okay, everyone. Oh, yes, I remember the black and white TV days with the little 12-inch TV, black and white, and had it in the kitchen, and we would get about, I guess we had 6 channels in all, counting the UHF with that little loopy antenna on the back of the TV. And then I graduated up to the cable, and now I'm back to the over-the-air antennas again. So back at Coast to Net. Have a good weekend, everyone.
You have a good weekend as well. Thanks for checking in. All right, in the mobile, KD2 IWN Tim in Hamburg, New York.
Well, good morning, everybody on the Brew Crew. Yeah, I am mobile. One few weird times I am mobile. Hopefully I'm making it in. Yeah, I remember over-the-air broadcast TV. Totally grew up with that. Quite the whole 9 yards. Yeah, we had a handful of standard channels, and we're in Buffalo, New York, so we could get some Canadian channels and PBS and all that good stuff. Had a rotary antenna up on the roof. You can still hear the motor of the controller buzzing around to get to my favorite channel. Great memories, and wouldn't change a thing. Everybody have a great day. Hope I made it in. 73 K2 IWN Mobile.
All right, Tim, have a great day, and thanks for checking in. All right, WB5, W8BDT, Robert out of Lorain, Ohio. Good morning. Spent plenty of time over there in Lorain on the west side. I grew up in Ohio, and I know a lot of familiarity with that area, the beaches, and Illyrio, one place in North Israel is where I spent a lot of time. I had family there. What say you?
PD, Robert, Lorain, Ohio. What say you, Robert? All right, we'll put Robert in and out, and hopefully he checks in a little bit with us later. All right, WB5ITT, Chris, Beaumont, Texas. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, sir, to the rest of the Morning Brew from WB5TT. And, in fact, our first television station down here in our area was on UHF, but it struggled and went bankrupt after a year when the local CBS affiliate signed on VHF6. We had two over-the-air stations. And of course now we got a plethora of them. I take care of a low-power TV station here in town on Channel 23. Quick anecdote, little story. We had one of the TV stations down here, our NBC affiliate, Channel 4, had a kids show on, and the local weatherman, Garner, played a character called Cowboy John. They often had kids in the audience and would ask them questions and talk to them. One show, there was something going on and a couple of kids busted out laughing. John walked over with the mic and said, what's funny? And this kid sat there and just shook his head, and he shook his head, and he finally asked this little girl, and she pointed to this kid next to her, she goes, Leroy farted. And John just sat there, on camera with the mic staring into the audience and just went, we're going to go to a commercial. Well, about 6 months later on the NBC Nightly News with Huntley and Brinkley, of course, they would always sign off, good night, David, good night, Chet. And this one evening you hear him, good night, David, good night, Chet, and good night, Leroy, wherever you are in Southeast Texas. So, and you can look it up, it's a true story. WB5ITT, back to that. All right, Chris, have a great day, and thanks for sharing your story there. 73. All right, we're at the end of our list, and we'll start a new one. This is KF0MHN, Bill out of Minnesota. Do you remember on-air TV after cable? Right now, we'll take check-ins. Remember to say your call sign twice, and avoid pile-ups, please. November 3, Mike Papa Echo. November 3, Mike Papa Echo, and 3MP.
Kilowatt 9er Tango Bravo Delta. K9 TBD, Mobile.
November 3, Lima Tango Hotel. November 3, Lima Tango Hotel.
Whiskey Delta 8, Papa India Charlie. Whiskey Delta 8, Papa India Charlie.
November 7, Bravo Bravo Echo, and 7 BBE.
K2AP, AP.
Whiskey 8, Bravo Papa Delta. Whiskey 8, Bravo Papa Delta.
KF8, DIC. KF8, Detroit Rock City.
Oscar Golf, M5 OZG.
All right, we got a pretty good list started there. We'll start from the bottom. We got N50ZG, Joel. We got KF8DRC, Jack. We've got W8 BPD, Brian. We've got N7BBD, Ben. We've got WD8 I see Bob. We've got N3LG. Via the mobile, we've got K9 TPD. Joel out of Eastern Pennsylvania. What say you, Joel?
Good morning to the net, and this is really a wonderful day here. The other Pennsylvania station said 70 degrees. It's just beautiful. Yes, I remember those days, and we had a Helicrafters push button, channel 1 through channel TV, with about a 2-inch square screen. And there were no TV stations to be had except on skip days. The nearest one was 90 miles away. So yes, we remember those days. We finally put up a big antenna so we could finally get some stuff. Back to net, K9 TVD.
All right, Joel. Thanks for checking in. Good to hear you out there. Next, we have N3MP Sam. We have K2AP Joel out of East Islip, New York. We have N1CBM, and that is Carlos. We have K4ITA Leo out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. KC2GRN Joel out of East Yaphank, New York. We've got K5YNU Florin out of Conroe, Texas. And we've got NW4Q Jim out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And at the top of the list, we have AC2KW via text line, Lewis out of Mineola, Florida. Good morning, Lewis. AC2KW, you still with us? We'll put Lewis as an in and out, and maybe he'll come back to us in a little bit. NW4Q, Jim out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. What say you, Jim?
Yes, sir. Good morning. I do remember, and our first antenna, we had to go to the clothesline, and believe it or not, strangely enough, it worked. Have a nice day. Great job.
All right, Lewis, good hearing from you. Have a great day, and we'll talk at you again sometime. All right, N4Q, Jim out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Good morning, Jim. I'm sorry, Jim. I just went right back to you. My fault. I gotta follow those arrows. K5YNU, Florin out of Conroe, Texas. Good morning, Florin. Florin via the text line, K5YNU. What say you, Florin? Hey, well, from Florin, put him as an in and out. Let's go to Joel from East Yaphank, New York, KC2GRN. Good morning, Joel.
Bill and Mark and everybody on the Morning Brew, KC2GRN. Yeah, I remember the days before cable. You know, we had about 6 channels here out of Long Island, ABC, NBC, CBS, and then a smattering of local New York stations, WNEW, WOR, WPIX. And I remember when cable first came out, I'm saying to myself, why are people so stupid to have to pay to watch free TV? Well, I guess I was wrong on that note. Anyway, everybody have a great day, and thanks for what you guys are doing. KC2GRN back to net.
All right, Joel. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, cable is pretty much streaming cable or satellite is where it's at today for the most part. But you can find some free stuff as well. Not too bad. All right, K4ITA Leo, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Good morning, Leo.
Morning. Good morning, Bill. Good morning, Mark. Good morning from the beautiful Fort Lauderdale. We are in the middle of the rainy season in South Florida. 83 degrees and cloudy and rain today. Well, I'm saying hello to Carlos. Say fly, Carlos. And also to Joe, K2A in the CW contest, Joe. And my... Yes, black and white TV and big antenna on the roof. That was when I was a kid. Everybody a great day. K4.
All right, Leo, thanks for checking in. You have a great day as well. We got you for a yes and an on. All right, N1 CBM, Carlos, Hollywood, Florida. Good morning, Carlos.
Good morning, Bill, Mark, and Leo. Thank you for that. I say hello to you too, and everybody else is always present here in the ECR Morning Brew. 71 in Rome, Georgia. It's 200-foot visibility with a lot of fog today. Headed to the airport in about 30 minutes. Going later today before stopping in Columbia, South Carolina. Well, yeah, I do remember the free TV, the OPA TV as they call it right now, and even mingling with aluminum foil into those big antennas, the big ear antennas, that we had to increase the reception in a few of those weak channels. So it's a yes for me, N1 CBN. Back to you, Bill.
All right, Carlos, safe travels out there. Thanks for checking in, and have a great day. K2AP Joe, East Islip, New York. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning to everyone on the net. Good morning, Leo. Again. Yeah, we had a 1952 film, which is still today, and it had a built-in antenna on the top. And I grew up in New York City, so there was no problem. You didn't need much of an antenna. You just had to turn this little knob on the top. And it also had a picture on it. So I think pretty soon we might have to change the picture tube. But right now it has the picture tube booster. I was just looking at it a minute ago. K2AP, back to net.
All right, Joe. Have a great day. Good talking to you. 73. And let's move on to N3 MPE, Sam, Pflugerville, Texas. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, my friend. Let's try it one more time. Yes, I remember those days very well. 1959, 1960, back when we had a black and white 4 model, and we only had channels 4, 7, 9, 4, 7, 9, and 5, 4 of them. And they're all out of Washington, D.C. And when UHF came out, that was like, you were like this watching a TV on Mars. That was the whole new experience, UHF television. And I remember we got the test pattern, and this was in Hagerstown, Maryland. We got this test pattern from Havana, Cuba on our TV. It must have been tropospheric docking or something. It was quite the thing. Anyway, I enjoy you doing a good job running that. This is N3 MPE back to net control.
Great day, and thanks for checking in. Let's move on to N3LGH, Jim out of Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone on. I do remember over-the-air TV, and I also remember when a plane would fly over, and it would interfere with the signal, especially when my dad and my uncles were watching the game. That drove them crazy. And the one final thing I'll say is we used to have 3 channels here in southwestern Pennsylvania. You could always find something to watch. Now we have 500, and you can never find anything to watch. Everyone have a great day. 73, N3LTH.
Yeah, Bob, that's exactly the way I feel with all those channels out there. I can never find anything to watch as well.
My feelings exactly. So have a great day, Bob. Good talking to you in 73. This is KF0MHN Bill out of Minnesota. Do you remember on-air TV before cable? This is the question of the day. Let's move on to N7, BBE. Ben out of Pompano Beach, Florida. Good morning, Ben.
Good morning. Yeah, we have 76 degrees and the rain is here. It's raining. Anyway, yeah, back in those days, I had rabbit ears on the TV. We got channel 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. So we were doing okay. Everything was black and white. And it worked pretty good if you kept moving the rabbit ears around on top of the TV. All right, back to you, M7 BBE.
PIC Bob out of Sylvania, Ohio. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. WD8PIC. Yes, and I remember my parents getting very upset when they would adjust the rabbit ears standing in front of them. And then they'd walk away and, of course their body had been influencing the signal. You know how that works. So I got very good at kneeling down, so just my arm was there and I could adjust it and make it to where it would work even when I got away, because, the rest of my wasn't in the way. And they couldn't understand. I'm totally blind, and they couldn't understand how a blind person could make it better than they did. And our first UHF television, we had to have a converter because the TV did not have any UHF, and it came out on channel 3. And then, of course, later on we got a TV that actually did have the UHF in it. And Bobby, can you go change the channel? Back to now, WD8PIC.
All right, my friend. Have a great day. Thanks for checking in. And 73. We have you on the log as a yes. Let's move on to KF8DRC, Detroit Rock City. Jack, Rochester, Michigan. Good morning.
God, good morning, everyone else. Yes, we had 247. That's all we had that time, back to 67. And I had a TV. It has to be. I got a handkerchief, wire handkerchief, put it on top instead of the antenna, and it was working good. Everyone have a good day. KF8 DRC. Don't forget Brian.
Well, not. Thanks, Jack, for checking in. WAPBD. Brian out of Warren, Michigan. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill, Mark, everybody. Thanks, Jack. Yes, I remember over-the-air TV. We started off with a black and white TV, and we had a handful of channels, but we lived close enough. We could get Canada, and my father could watch Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday evenings. Everybody have a good day. Back to net control. W8 BPD.
All right, Brian. Have a great day, and we'll talk at you later. Let's move on to N50ZG Joe at Metairie, Louisiana. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, net control, and everyone on that. Yes, I do remember black and white, and I remember the stations going off at around 1 o'clock. I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning. But I don't remember what time they came back on, maybe 5 or 6 in the morning. But I do remember. And I do remember my dad was the ham, and he would run about 1,000 watts on HF, and God, I remember when he keyed up and started talking already, I just teared up the TV big time. All right, 73s and 5 OZG Mobile.
All right, Joe. Thanks for checking in. Have a great day. We'll talk at you later. All right, WB1 DXN
Via text line, Daryl, Concord, New Hampshire. Good morning, Daryl.
Morning, Mark and Bill and the rest of the Brew crew, and the answer is yes. And I was looking back in there, and there's only one no, so that ages a lot of us in here. So we used to California, and we get a couple of stations out of Sacramento. One was in Stockton, and we could get a couple of stations out of San Francisco. Everybody keep safe, be aware of your surroundings, and always be aware, always have a way out. WB1DXN.
All right, Joe. Thanks for checking in, and have a great day. We got you down as yes in the long. Let's move on to WQ9B. Ken out of Brownsville, Texas. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning to you and all those in the Brew crew. What do we got? 79 degrees, feeling like 91 outside. 99% humidity. Figure that one out, deep South Texas. Anyway, yeah, I do remember antenna over the air television. Matter of fact, I was born in '53, and we lived in Council, Iowa. We lived on top of a hill out in the rules, and we had rabbit ears that I remember. And somehow it worked, even though the television was down in the basement. And yes, sir, golly, I was the remote control. And the television got turned off at 9 o'clock for us because that was bedtime. WQ9B, back to net.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for checking in. Yeah, 9 o'clock bedtime back in my day as well. And have a great day. On to Chuck, W2EM. Chuck, Lancaster, New York. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, all. Yeah, I was born in 1945, so yeah, I can remember getting up Saturday mornings for cartoons, and the only broadcast, I think, from 8 o'clock until 11 at night. So I'd get up there and turn the TV on, warm it up, and wait for the test pattern to come on, and then they'd have the United States flag and and the pledge, or not the pledge, but your song and everything, and then you start the day. We only had 3 channels, and later on when they came out with the UHF, my God, we got 2 more channels, and that was enough. I mean, that worked. So yeah, put me down as a yes. W2EM, Chuck in Lancaster, New York.
Have a good day, and we got you down as a yes and a long. Let's move on to N8MJN, Marson in Sterling Heights, Michigan. Good morning, Marson.
Good morning, Brew. I think I'm still using over-the-air channels, using a service called Lane Free Stream. I have a tuner box that's out to my cell phone, all the over-the-air channels, and mounted a attic antenna, ran a coax down to the about 30 channels today over the air, and I'm not paying anything for TV except for during football season when all the football games are on paid channels on a streaming service for that during the football season. So that's it. I'll send it back to net control. Everybody have a
All right, Marson, we got you in for a yes. Your signal was kind of in and out. It seemed like you were a little bit away from the repeater, but we didn't copy your answer. Have a great day, 73. Let's move on to KM4 CTB, Donnie out of Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Hey, good morning, Brew Crew. This is M4 CTB, Donnie in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. You can put me down as a yes as well. Born in 1956. Was a human channel selector. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for doing the net. KM4 CTB, back to net.
Good morning, Brew. And the question of the day today was Do You Remember On-Air TV Before Cable? This is KF0MHN on behalf of the Morning Brew crew, including Mark, KE2EDS, doing the log. Everybody, we return East Coast Reflector to its regular programming, and everybody, have a great day.
B3TGN, B3TGN, Tim Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
Each individual has to have access to the sunshine, but they're fun. And they're just little plastic ones. I was thinking of sprinkling them around on the trails and stuff like that, but I'm trying to figure out, will the gardeners then rake them into the dirt? They probably will. So, but there'll be some experimentation. Magic rocks, and you don't even have to trade your cow for one. This is KC2PKG. Over to you, KB9MSK.
Bill, I forgot to ask you, send me I'm going to check bar on my phone how much I owe you for that video. And I go to Daryl, and Daryl get back to me.
Just as I thought, ladies and gentlemen, just as I thought. They blamed the driver for being late. I talked to the driver. He said, man, I was literally, about a minute away from your house when they turned me around and sent me halfway across town. He said, that app has a delay. He said, I wasn't 3 minutes away from your house. He said, I was 1 minute away from your house. And they turned me around and sent me across town. I said, well, man, they blamed you for that. I said that you were going to be late. I said, I knew better. And that's why I was taking screenshots on my phone of the GPS app. And I'm sick of this, man. There's no accountability. This is the only line of accessible transit that anyone with a disability has in this city. And I'm sick and tired of there being no accountability. The drivers and the dispatch staff in the office are all paid by the same company. So they won't speak out or say anything against the company because it's their jobs, right? So you got office staff and drivers trying to shelter each other from anything going wrong. And there's supposed to be accountability in there from the midman, which is the mass transit system for the city. But it doesn't seem like she's holding anyone accountable either. So now I just posted a post on Facebook that's going to go wide to everybody. And I'm looking for people that have had issues with this system in the past. And I'm going to go out of my way, man. They're dealing with a dude with a lot of time on his hands this time. And I'm pissed about it because because of how rude the dispatch guy got when I called in to talk about the issue. So now I put a post up on Facebook. I want anyone that's ever had issues with that company to contact me. I'm going to formulate a report with names, incidents, and any information or evidence that I can from multiple people to back up what's going on with this company. See, the way it works is the city owns the buses, Metrobus, the mass transit system. They own it. And they contract a private company, in which case this one is called Talk Transit. And every couple of years, the company that's in charge of running it switches because they get underbid or whatever it is. So less than 2 years ago, a company was taken over by this company called Talk Transit. It was ran for many years by a company called MVT Mobility. And now MVT doesn't do it anymore, and this company Talk Transit does. So since Talk Transit came in, they did nothing but change things, make the service worse, do away with accountability. You can't ask questions about why things are how they are anymore. It's just like a closed book. And as far as I'm concerned, a closed book in an open system, the accountability to the mass transit of the accountability to the mass transit system for one, and it seems that accountability bridge is broken. So next step is for me to go to the city with this stuff and go to a council meeting and break out a document saying, listen, this is what's going on. These are the multiple people that have been impacted negatively by the way the company is being operated now, and it's time for the contract to be revisited because it's obvious they're not holding up their end of the bargain. So I'm taking this further, and I'm just sick and tired of being treated like an idiot when it's the clients that make this service necessary, and when it's the clients who are ponying up the dough every month or every ride or every 10 ride pass or whatever you're buying. But it's your money, it's our money that goes into this service. And if there's no accountability, if we've got rude staff to deal with when we call in with a complaint, then that's not being operated right, in my opinion. And I'm just so sick of it that I'm actually ready to do something about it now. It's frustrating, though, because I like status quo. I just like it when things work like they're supposed to and everything goes nice and smooth. And with a company that's supposed to be managed to provide that service, they're not providing it very well. Because you guys know, you've heard me complain about the service before. Hadn't really made any massive issue of it, but I'm making an issue of it this time. The driver, I mean, that's not fit. The driver was on time. He was more than on time. He was early. And they switched him around and sent him completely away from my house. That's not fit. So the anger sharks are swimming this morning. Back to you, Russell, VO1 UKZ.